Welcome to the Big Four Accounting Firms podcast, brought to you by big4accountingfirms.com. Now, today I wanted to talk about a couple of things, but I wanted to go back and focus on the report from Deloitte. I know I tend to focus on these things, but I think there's a lot of information that's disclosed in here, a lot of time that goes into this. So might as well parse through the information and learn something. And it's pretty crazy if you look at the total number of employees and compare that to the number of new hires. And I wanted to analyze this over time because Deloitte now has the most employees. They have 345,000 employees, and that's only basically an increase of 10,000 net employees over the prior year. And they had total new hires. I mean, they have a couple of slides and they differ in the number by about 1,000, but according to them, they have 83,730 new hires. So that means that over 70,000 people left the firm in 2021. So there's definitely, it just speaks to the turnover at the Big Four accounting firms and how many people leave. And I think it's just the nature of the work, but also the business of just hiring this many people, not integrating them, but also not keeping them engaged. But that's just the general statement around the Big Four accounting firms. I wanted to look at the total new hires, and the total new hires is going down. And I said this on the previous podcast where we went over the revenue, but it's going down from 2019. It was at a high of 90,000. And in 2020, it was 88,000. In 2021, it's 83 to 84,000, like we said before. So it is going down. And there's a lot of things that you can read into that. Maybe it's just taking too much time for Deloitte to process new employees. Maybe they're not finding good enough candidates. So it's just very interesting that their employees are going down. Their total new hires are going down. Maybe this is why their growth wasn't as high as E&Y. But another thing that was interesting was that they had 4.6 million applications received. So that's less than 2% that they accept as new hires. And also that, that their new hires are going down. I think there's something going on there, and you just need to make sure that if you're applying to Deloitte I think your chances are better if you apply to Deloitte because they hire so many people, but the Big Four accounting firms, you're going to need to make sure that your application, interview, everything is in tip-top shape, and that if you do the video interview with Deloitte, that you're in good standing and you're really prepared for it. This episode is brought to you by Boomer. Boomer helps you ace the interview at the Big Four accounting firms, and it does this by helping you practice on questions typically asked on the Big Four interview. And if you use the link or promo code which goes to tryboomer.com/big4 or the promo code BIG4, then listeners get 10% off their purchase. So go ahead and check out their website, tryboomer.com, and see if you like all the tools they have that can help you prep for your Big Four interview, and you do choose to purchase it, make sure to use the link in the show notes, because with that link, you're going to get 10% off, or make sure to use our promo code. All the details are in the show notes. But another reason that I wanted to look at this is because I think that after COVID-19, the Big Four accounting firms are going to be a little bit more cautious about taking on tons of employees after they had to lay people off. And that's something to be aware of. And we're sitting here in September of 2021, and global markets took a really big hit today, a large hit. And I think a lot of people have been predicting this, the market's going down. More financial institutions are predicting it going down with increased government spending, inflation, etc. And so people, whether or not the market goes down this year or next year, people need to be ready for it to go down, and they need to realize that the Big Four accounting firms might be looking at reducing headcount. And similar to the financial crisis, almost a decade ago or over a decade ago. The Big Four accounting firms are very cautious the next couple of years after that. And so I think too, if you're in the recruiting process, or you're anticipating getting a job at the Big Four accounting firms, but maybe you want to put it off, maybe you want to take a year off for the CPA or semester, I would encourage you to get a job as soon as possible and establish your reputation. Or maybe you might have to put it off for a little bit longer, but the sooner you get in there and establish yourself, the better. Just to ensure that you get a job, versus in case the Big Four downsize or lay people off, or maybe you want to hold off a couple years and get a lower level job somewhere else. But it's just something to think about, that Deloitte is decreasing the amount of people that they're hiring, and that you really need to bolster your resume, bolster your credentials, make sure you're ready for your interview, and that you're well prepared. Because I think if there's a downturn, then I think the Big Four accounting firms have all they're either position themselves to decrease recruits, or they're going to lay people off again. And I think that's a possibility. That's a possibility as well, and people need to be ready for that. And people need to take advantage of things the way they are now, whether that's getting a raise or bonus now, or getting a job now, or maybe you want to move jobs before the economy goes down and the Big Four lay people off. Maybe there's tension in your office. Like I know at KPMG, there's a lot of tension, and it doesn't really matter which line of service you're in. So maybe you want to jump to a company while they're still hiring, and you want to jump to a company that's doing really well, has a lot of capital, before a potential downturn comes in. So that's just something to consider. I was looking at that, and I think those numbers at Deloitte were very interesting to me. And Deloitte gives the most information around this. So that's why I wanted to analyze it. The other Big Four accounting firms don't necessarily put how many applications they receive, but Deloitte receives a significant amount of applications, and they don't accept that many people. So that's something to consider. And Deloitte and the other accounting firms will be following a similar path. And Deloitte will hire a lot less people if the economy goes down, because they're the most heavily skewed towards consulting. So that's just something to keep in mind and prepare yourself. And in case the market or whatever doesn't do as well this year, then you're prepared and thinking of other things to do in the meantime. So that's the podcast for today. Make sure to subscribe to stay up to date, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Big Four Accounting Firms. Thanks for listening.